Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm talking again about the Israeli conflict in Gaza. The last video I did, I mentioned that there was a news announcement that came over my phone talking about a refugee camp getting blasted. Now, just now, the BBC has done a broadcast on this. So let's see what's happening here.
People are said to have been killed and many more injured in a blast at the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. But those figures come from the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, which also says the camp came under Israeli fire. We're yet to hear from the Israeli military. The BBC is still establishing the details. Pictures from the scene, as you can see, show people searching for survivors and pulling bodies from the rubble. Now, Israel earlier said its forces are striking targets in all parts of Gaza, with fierce battles being reported with Hamas. Let me show you these pictures from Israel's defense forces showing their troops carrying out.
At least that camera angle looked like there was a crater, so which was different than what happened with the hospital incident. So most likely, Israel hit it.
Now, ground operations, the IDF says it has encountered anti-tank missiles and machine gun fire as they advance into Gaza. A spokesman said it was hunting commanders of Hamas and attacking him.
I just received a news announcement on my phone from CNN. It's saying that Israel Defense Forces confirmed attack on densely populated refugee camp.
Infrastructure. Meanwhile, this video was released by Hamas. They say that the people you can see surrounded by tanks are in a firefight with Israeli soldiers in northern Gaza over the weekend. Palestinian Red Crescent says the area around the Al-Quds hospital in Gaza City has again been under heavy bombardment. The health ministry says more than 8,500 people have been killed in the past 3 weeks. Israel says over 1,400 Israelis were killed in the Hamas attacks on October the 7th. Well, let's go straight to our diplomatic correspondent, Paul Adams, who's in Jerusalem. And Paul, what more can you tell us about the blast at the Jabalia camp?
Well, Matthew, I think you've shown some of the pictures. They are pretty shocking. That crater is huge, an absolutely enormous hole surrounded by vast quantities of rubble, and then homes and buildings around there that have been obviously severely damaged, either in the course of this incident or perhaps over the course of the last 3 weeks. Jabalia, in case viewers are wondering, is the largest of the refugee camps in the Gaza Strip, home to around 120,000 people before this war began, packed into an area of about 1.5 square kilometers. It's not tents, it's buildings that have been there for decades and tightly packed streets. And we think, judging by the number of people who are there looking in the rubble to try and find bodies and survivors, there are still hundreds, maybe thousands of people still in the area, despite days and days of Israeli warnings for people to leave northern Gaza. So it is likely that any airstrike on Jabalia, and this does appear to be an airstrike, that kind of crater is really only consistent with a large munition dropped from the air, then it is almost inevitable that large numbers of civilians who have chosen.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm speculating. But when I speculate, I'm usually right. Maybe there was actually a tunnel by the refugee camp. Maybe.
To stay in the north will have been caught up in this. That figure of around 50, which is the number counted by journalists on the scene from Agence France Presse, that appears to be the minimum number of people caught up in this obviously huge explosion.
Paul, you were mentioning some of the geography of the Gaza Strip, but over the last week and more, we've heard from the Israelis urging people, ordering people to leave the north, to go to the south of.
Exactly. Leave, get out of the way. You know, Thor's coming, right?
South of the Wadi Gaza. Just tell us a little more about where this camp is within that sort of geography, north-south, and this line that the Israelis have talked about.
Yeah, so Jabalia is north of Gaza City, so it's between Gaza City and the border fence with Israel. So it is not far from the areas where Israeli forces have been pushing in on the ground. They're not there yet. They haven't reached those really densely populated.
Here's Gaza City, right? Right here's Gaza City. This is the northern front. This is the southern front, right? And the bombing took place right here. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. They're in the kill zone. They should have moved. And then they call it a refugee camp. I'm telling you, they're not paying attention. The Israelis are telling the Gazans, get the hell out of the way, we're coming in. But they keep on thinking that, you know what, I'll just do whatever I want. Or they're trying to get out and Hamas keeps them there, which is even worse because the Palestinians should be fighting against Hamas then. But they're not. They're just doing whatever Hamas was. That's allowed, whatever Hamas wants. Why is the Palestinians allowing that? They could go from here to here and be safer.
Areas yet, but they are gradually pushing forward on a number of areas in the north. At the same time, we've seen the movement of Israeli forces south of Gaza City, closer to Wadi Gaza, in what looks like an attempt to cut off Gaza City from the rest of the Gaza Strip. That would be entirely consistent with the messaging.
The Arabs, the Gazans, the Palestinians, Hamas, they're trying to spin this. Oh, Israel's the big bad guy because we're not willing to evacuate. Or Hamas is preventing them from evacuating. There's probably a little bit of both going on there. All right. But the thing is that Israel should not be deterred because what they're trying to do, what the Palestinians are trying to do is have the international community try to condemn Israel on them defending their country, all right, and rooting out Hamas and all this terrorism that's going on. I'm telling you, get on the right side. Don't be a victim of the ultra-liberal agenda.
That we've been hearing from the Israelis really since this war began 3 weeks ago, which is to try and tell everybody to move south of that line. The Israelis feel that they have a lot that they need to achieve in the wider Gaza City area, that is where many Hamas fighters will be located. That is where a lot of the bunkers and tunnels that we've heard the Israelis talking about a great deal over the past few weeks, that's where all of that is located. And so I think it is likely that as the...
Just imagine, you know, if the Israelis weren't doing the bombings that they were doing, right? They're going in. You see these troops, they're walking down an alley, you know, or a street, right? And you don't know if there's a sniper in this debris in you know, the second or third level of these buildings. You don't know. And they get picked off. It's extremely delicate operation that they're trying to. This is the hardest thing that you can do in warfare. Right here. It's this. As an infantryman, that's the hardest. It's extremely difficult to be doing this urban warfare and tunnel warfare stuff. Probably the tunnel stuff is probably even worse. But this urban kind of environment is extremely difficult. If they don't level it, they're going to have more casualties. The Israelis are going to have more casualties. They have to level the place. Imagine yourself. Let's say the ones that are listening that want to have peace in that region. Imagine yourself teleported all over there. All right, Scotty from Star Trek teleports you to this Gaza street, and you are in the IDF. All right, and you have to clear that sector. All right, imagine what you got to do. And then, after you think about that for like a few hours, then actually have an opinion on, you know what? Maybe Israel is doing the right thing here.
As the days go by, more and more focus will be on this very, very densely populated area. What we don't know is how many people, civilians, remain in that area. We do know that there are thousands of people sheltering at Shifa Hospital, where the Israelis allege that Hamas has bunkers underneath. We know of thousands of people sheltering at the Al-Quds Hospital in another part of Gaza City. And there are UN schools and medical facilities dotted about.
I've been watching Bloomberg a little bit in the morning, mostly in the morning, and then watching a little bit of this CNBC. I haven't seen much in business news about what's going on in Israel. A little bit, but not much.
About this entire area where people are still sheltering. So it is safe to assume that there are still many, many thousands of people who run the risk of being trapped in Gaza at the very moment when the Israelis turn their attention to it on the ground.
Only this time, yesterday or around this time, we heard Benjamin Netanyahu absolutely adamant there would be no ceasefire. It's interesting, just in the last couple of hours, the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has said humanitarian pauses must be considered in Gaza. He was talking to a Senate hearing, but
no. See, this is the thing, the problem with Blinken and Kirby and the whole damn Biden administration and most of U.S. policy for the last 50 years in the Middle East. You got to get the job done. And if the Palestinians don't get out of the way, then it's their own damn fault, because they've been warned that the tanks and the other military personnel are coming in. If they go to the south, they're going to be able to get the aid.
But even that, even a pause looks really unlikely at the moment, doesn't it? No pause.
I think it does, and actually a pause will not even affect Gaza City at all. The Israelis have made it clear that nothing that goes into Gaza, no aid that goes into Gaza, will go north of that Wadi Gaza line. That, for the Israelis, is absolutely essential. They're happy for aid to go in to the south, to the area where many, many hundreds of thousands of people have fled and are now sheltering, some of them in tents. But even there, the aid that is managing to get across the border from Egypt is just a tiny fraction of what is needed. We have heard American officials and Israeli officials talking in the last couple of days about increasing the number of trucks that go across the border up to around 100. That would be a start, but we haven't got to that point yet. We haven't seen that number of trucks going in on any single day. And even if they were to get in, it would be pretty challenging for the aid agencies to address the needs of those people who are huddled in the south, desperately in need of assistance. But as for the north, and anyone north of Wadi Gaza, they are.
All right, so that's the end of that video. I thought the news coverage on that was somewhat middle ground for BBC. Normally, they're very kind of biased to the Palestinian side, right? And that previous video I did mention that. This I thought was much better, much more even keel in terms of the broadcast. So, you know, I'm not going to be saying one side is always, you know, bad, right? I'm going to call this the way I see it, you know, unvarnished. And sometimes it's going to be negative towards Israel, sometimes it's not. But I'm telling you, get the job done, or it's going to get a whole lot worse. And we are elevating the risks in this conflict for unconventional means. That's chemical, biological, and radiological. And as time goes on, and we don't get the job done, it's going to increase those risk factors. Where deploying of unconventional warfare happens. That's why it's so important to get the job done. All right, now I want to play this video. This is from Fox about an hour ago, and this is saying things are getting out of control and there's no choice, according to this vet that's from the IDF.
Announcing plans to combat rising anti-Semitism on college campuses following anti-Israeli protests happening across.
This picture is from the Harvard University. You know, it's an amazing university, actually. in many respects, you know, there's the negative and the positive. A die-in, you know, this is the famous die-in that they did. A bunch of crazy liberals.
Across the nation. Under the plan, the Departments of Justice and Homeland Security will work with colleges and local police to track hate-related speech online and provide federal resources to schools, while the Education Department will host webinars on how to file reports. Fox News White House correspondent Peter Doocy grilling the Biden administration on the recent demonstrations yesterday. Watch this.
Does President Biden think the anti-Israel protesters in this country are extremists?
What I can say is what we've been very clear about this. When it comes to anti-Semitism, there's no place. We have to make sure that we speak against it very loud and be very clear about that.
Does President Biden look at these anti-Israel protests on college campuses and think it's nice to see that the country's youth are so involved, or does he think the next generation is doomed?
Here's the thing. There's no place for hate in America. I'm telling you, there's no place for hate in America, and we condemn any anti-Semitic threat or incident in the strongest terms.
Joining me now, Israeli Defense Forces Paratrooper Unit veteran and Nassau County Legislature, Mazi Pilip. Mazi, thank you so much for being here. First, I want you to react to what you heard from the White House. Her language was strong, but still, we are seeing an incredible amount of anti-Semitism. I don't know about you, that I've never seen in my lifetime in this country.
You're absolutely right. This is frightening, unbelievable, out of control. And yes, I'm happy the White House taking a serious step. However, I don't think that's going to stop. That's a good start. There have to be more. This is very concerning. I mean, we're talking about anti-Semitism that we never saw before. We felt it. You know, I was running just last year against Curie College when they allowed the law graduate student giving a hate speech, which was, back then I knew it was wrong. We were on the street screaming. But right now, this is out of control, and we are worried.
I'll tell you what, if we don't get the job done in the Middle East, it's going to get a whole lot worse. And I've been saying this 100 freaking times. But you need to pay attention what's going on in these universities, especially the top 10 or 20 in the United States. All right? That's the Harvards and the Columbias and the Cornells, right? It's not just the colleges, the undergrad, but the graduate students that are coming from law. All right? That means that they're gonna be going into politics, because a lot of people don't actually practice law. They go to law school. They go into politics, right? And you're gonna have this anti-Semitic, pro Islamic Jihad student body coming out of graduate school, going into politics. That's the danger here. And then there's also the undergrad. Now, in the undergrad, there's a percentage of them that will grow out of this and mature, right? And not be this way. There's another percentage that will stay ultra liberal and most likely move to New York.
I am worried, and it's not fair. We want more action, and I know they can do it.
Well, you want more action from Governor Hochul, near Governor Hochul. So she did denounce the threats against the Jewish community during a visit to Cornell. That was yesterday. She called for criminal charges against anybody who makes any threats online to slit the throats of Jewish students, and slamming a professor who called Hamas's attack, quote, energizing. Meanwhile, Jewish students at Columbia and Barnard College denouncing the university's inaction against anti-Semitism after 100 professors signed a letter that defended students who supported Hamas's attack. Unbelievable. That was yesterday, Mazi. You've been at the front lines at Columbia. You spoke of it.
Over 100 professors at Columbia signed a letter defending students on, supporting the Hamas attacks. They're literally supporting the burning and killing of children. And those professors are, supporting that mentality. And the student body that's supporting that. This is the problem with ultra liberals. And I'm saying, it's not just blue-haired dipshits that are 20 years old. It's blue-haired dipshits that actually are professors at these universities. We are dying from within this country because of this. Because of this. To fix this country, you got to get rid of the blue dye. You got to get rid of this anti-family. You got to get rid of this anti-religion. You got to get rid of the anti-capitalism mentalities they're being bred in these schools. I was not talking in hyperbole. I have seen communist student bodies at Harvard. These people are crazy. And what's even worse is they're smart. And if you don't wake up, you're going to get fucked.
Spoke at the university. You attended you attended a protest. You pushed back against these kids, the violence. Talk about firsthand your experiences and what you've seen on the ground.
For me, it's shocking, to be in the street and screaming in front of Columbia for them, the administration, to do something to protect our students. I cannot believe that I have to be there with another 600 people with me. And I spoke with students. They're scared, and I feel they're alone. And really, to be honest, nobody's doing anything. It took them, 25 days to react, even for Governor Hochul. I'm happy, but it took too.
The reason why is there's not that many Jews in this world. And it's even smaller that are real Jewish, that either practice or really Jewish. There's a lot of Jews that don't practice, and there's a lot of Jews that think they're Jewish that aren't Jewish. But real Jews, there's not that many. There's a whole lot of crazy liberals. There's a whole lot of Muslims. And that's the reason.
It's too long. We're waiting for what? For what we're waiting? It's just unfair, and I can't see our students suffering this way. Terrified. Why? Why we deserve that? I don't understand it. We are the victim here. Why the world is confused? Why people is confused? Why Hamas supporters is dancing and showing support of a terrorist organization who killed, burned babies? I mean, we all saw it. This is real stories. We all experienced it, saw the videos. 25 days what happened to us. Instead of comforting our students and giving them a sense of security, we just see the opposite side. It's just unreal.
A Columbia professor called the Hamas massacre awesome and a stunning victory. A Yale professor tweeted, "What an extraordinary day." That was October 7th. And then also said that Israel was a murderous, genocidal settler state. I mean, this is the nation's university, so that's first and foremost. But I want to go back to Governor Hochul. I mean, she was quickly on a plane going to Israel. I'm not sure what she thought she accomplished over there, but you're saying she is definitely not doing enough here to deal with what we're seeing yesterday, in particular, in the streets of New York. The Brooklyn Bridge shut down.
I'm happy she went to Israel. That was very nice to see her support. However, Governor Hochul, don't forget, you have over 2 million Jewish community here living with you. We are scared. One of the person who, thanks God, she survived the attack. Natalie, I think she was in in the news lately. She's from my district. Yesterday, I spoke with her, and during the event, she said she feel secure in Israel. I mean, this girl, like
more secure in Israel than you are in the United States. I had a Jewish friend tell me that yesterday.
The person who almost was killed during October 7th. She, miraculously, she escaped. She survived. She's telling us she feels more secure right now in Israel than here. That's a big statement for somebody who almost killed. I mean, it's showing you. I mean, people stopping me. I'm finding myself even to supermarket when I go. People are crying. I'm hugging and I'm trying to lift up people. This is a feelings wrong here. And again, it's not fair and it is unacceptable. We cannot be quiet about this anymore. And I'm really expecting more action from everyone. Everyone. Hate speech is not allowed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I want you to put on your paratrooper hat for just a second as someone who served with the Israeli Defense Forces, because they did announce that they did kill the Hamas leader that was directly responsible for the October 7th attack, that he was one of the largest planners of it. They struck 300 targets just in the last 24 hours, compounds inside that were Hamas. The tunnel system is being attacked, anti-tank missile rocket launch posts. So because of your veteran, you put your veteran hat on for a minute, what do you make of what you're seeing as far as the ground defensive now that, and there's your pictures you served, now that the Israelis have now gone into Gaza?
Listen, this was forced on us, and I'm very proud of the IDF. Really, they do what they need to do. Nobody wanted this war, and therefore they have to go in and destroy Hamas, a terrorist organization. And I don't want nobody to be confused about this. And I don't want to hear Israel has a right. Israel has obligation to protect their people. Very simple.
Are you worried about your colleagues and friends that are fighting in Israel right now?
Definitely. My colleagues, my family, my entire family live in Israel. I have a sister who's a police officer right now. She's protecting the borders with M16, checkpoints. You never know who's going to walk in or drive in. I have nephews, family members. It's fighting as we speak. I do a concern very much. However, there's no other choice. It's so enough. Like, we cannot allow anything like this to happen ever again.
Damn straight. I'm telling you, these ultra liberals don't understand the resolve of some of these Israelis. They are fed up. They are fucking fed up, and they are going to level fucking Gaza. Telling you. Now, there are ultra liberals out there that are trying to slow that process, but there is a core group in Israel that is so fed up that they want to get the job done. Unfortunately, we don't have an American leadership for the last 50 years to be able to get the job done. Instead, we're going to have Kirby placate to the heartstrings of the liberal, placate, to the AOC crowd.
Well, certainly, Maisie, we are all thinking about the people of Israel right now. I can't imagine the level of anxiety that your family is experiencing, especially when those sirens are going off every day. I think, what is it, 90 seconds they have to get into a shelter? And that's every day. That's still happening daily, correct?
Absolutely. I have a sister who lives in Rishon LeZion, it's near Tel Aviv. And yes, they running from their home to the shelter every second. I mean, can you imagine? It's little kids what they have to go through. This is very scary, and
this is interesting that you probably have not heard. I mentioned it maybe on one video before, a long time ago, in passing, right? But there's a writer from Australia that wrote a series of books that dealt with what is called biohistory. All right. And biohistory basically means that societies, the thesis of the book, I don't remember the name of the author, but the thesis of the book is basically this: societies will rise and fall in cycles, but there's also a biological component to it, right? And it's based on uterine stress of the fetus and the cortisol levels that happen during that stressful period of time, and the stress during adolescence, during the development of the child up to adolescence, right? If someone is born in a very affluent environment, right? Let's go back to hunting and gathering societies. This is the reason why it happens. It's because of hunting and gathering societies. If a population is living with a lot of abundance, all right, the stress levels in the mother in utero, right, for her pregnancy is lower, and there's more nutrients. And when the child is born and is going, through development up to adolescence, right, then there is less chance of death because there's abundance. And if the environment that they're living in, because of the abundance of food, is also safe, that there's no war, or there's no predator of some sort attacking the family or attacking the society, their tribe, then the cortisol levels are low. And what happens is those children become less and less over time, one generation to another, become less warring, less aggressive, right? When children in utero and during adolescence or during adolescence go through stressful periods of time, like what they're saying here, like the children that are seeing the stress for the in utero pregnancies, right? That are happening right now in Palestine, going through the stress, or the pregnant mothers that are in Israel going through the stress. Their cortisol levels are elevated, and the safety, right, gets transmitted in utero through hormone levels and sugar levels, right? And it changes the development of the child emotionally, all right? And it solidifies when they're born, all right? And they're going through adolescence and they're going through stress. They will become more aggressive and more chance for war, versus a society that is abundant, safe, relative, and there's not rockets, flying on. They're not getting eaten by bears, right? And this is the reason why the American population is becoming more and more weak, right? Less and less warlike. But you have to have these, if you want to maintain, this is the reason why these psyops are happening in the United States, to maintain a certain level of stress in utero situations and during the adolescence, you need to show some violence, either on TV or in the movies, show some stress, right? And there's going to be a certain percentage of the population that will have an aggressive behavior to be able to pull from for war. All right. So I just gave you some insight because of my medical training, but also, this thesis that came from this author from Australia. I don't remember his name, but the book is called Biohistory. I think he wrote 3 books that are kind of like a 3-volume, but I only read one of them. But the whole idea of the thesis is the rise and fall of societies is based on abundance and the stress levels in utero and during adolescence, right? And the stress of the mother and the stress of the child. And if you live in a land of abundance and safety, you're going to have a weaker child, right? And if you live in an environment where it's unsafe, there are predators, or there's war, and there are high cortisol levels because of the mother being stressed and the adolescent being stressed, that it does a certain wiring, emotional wiring, that allows them to have more aggressive behavior. It's actually a survival mechanism that's taking place. So societies that are stressed, all right, will beget children that will be more warring and more aggressive. And because they're more aggressive, if they're adjacent to a society that had a bunch of abundance and less aggressive, this is the reason why certain nations that have affluence start to fall, right? And the more aggressive nations start to take over, right? And these cycles take about 400 years, right? This is part of the reason why there's a 400-year cycle of a society rising and falling, right? And there's like sub-cycles within it. So it is a fib sequence within a fib sequence. But I just told you something that you probably didn't know, all right? Again, Dr. Paul Cottrell gives you unique perspectives on so many things, you know? And I'm not even trying. I mean, it's just like, it just snaps in my head, all right? Just through a conversation, just watching this. And then I immediately thought of the biohistory book author, right? And then I started thinking about cortisol levels and all this blah, 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 right? But yet, you know, you listen to stupid people that can't even, still cannot have the proper, that really describe the proper narrative of the crisis we went through and the post-crisis. So please support my work by subscribing to all my channels. I have 6 channels, 3 on YouTube. Links are in the description of this video. I have a Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble channel. Please subscribe to those. That way you can get all my content. Some of it gets censored, but at least you have some place to go, right? Because who's going to tell you about biohistory, right? So, so please subscribe to all those channels. If you would like to support my news coverage, please donate. I have donation mechanisms through Stripe and PayPal and through Buy Me a Coffee. That way, you know, the links are in the description for Buy Me a Coffee. To donate for Stripe and for PayPal, just go to my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Link is in the description of this video. And go to the homepage. At the very bottom of the homepage, there's Stripe and PayPal links, and donate through that mechanism. Another way is to subscribe as a paid subscriber on Patreon and help support my news coverage through that mechanism. So please subscribe to my Patreon account. Another way to help support your health and help support my news coverage is go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. That is the-studio-reykjavik.com. Link is in the description. Just click the link. Go to the store and get the products that you need. The nano silvers, the structural nano silvers, the supplements, the C60, which is a strong antioxidant, and the all-natural deodorants, and then my curated anti-aging boxes, where all you have to do is just click one box and you'll get all the products that you need based on a certain price point that that you can afford. All right, I've curated them. They're great products. Get the products from my store. Max 35 neutralizes pathogens. Take it with a teaspoon every day. That's what I do, and it's part of the anti-aging protocol. Probiotics. This is a powdered one. I also have it in capsule form. I mix it with my hummus every morning. You can mix it in water and or mix it in a smoothie. But the idea is to get proper gut biome, gut health. And when you do that, you'll be able to have better metabolism. Vitamin C, very important, especially during the cold season. But not just that. It's a good antioxidant. It's not as strong as C60, and it helps with your skin. Take this, and it'll improve your skin if you couple it with collagen and taking 64 ounces of filtered water. And then on the skin every day, put the silver gel. This, if you put it on your skin every day at night, leave it on there at night, and when you wake up, exfoliate. But what will happen is that if you do that, it'll improve your skin and tighten the skin. Especially when you're taking the vitamin C, drinking the water, and taking the collagen. It's a great way to improve your skin. If you want an extra boost to improve your skin, take the C60, either an avocado oil or coconut oil. I take a teaspoon of it a day, right? I swallow it. And what that does is it's a very strong antioxidant. It'll bring down the reactive oxygen species and reduce the cellular stress. Sometimes cells want to go into necrosis, either go into either reversible necrosis or irreversible necrosis, right? But the idea is to reduce that stress so the cells stay healthy. And it improves the mitochondrial health and improves the ATP. That means you'll have more energy. When you have more energy, you actually have a better immune system and more muscle. You can move around more. If you don't have energy, you don't move, right? And you start to go downhill. Older people don't have as much energy as they used to. And that's because their mitochondria is aged. Ashwagandha. Control your blood glucose levels, bring down the inflammation. Resveratrol, good antioxidant, synergistic with C60, and it gets rid of senescent cells. Clarity factor. Clarity factor, it's a great way to improve your concentration at work or at school. I take 2 of these a day. I take it in the morning and in the mid-afternoon. What that does is it'll get those neurons firing, and you'll be able to have proper cognition. Turmeric brings down inflammation. It's part of the anti-aging protocol. D3, it helps with gene expression. If you don't get proper gene expression, you're going to have problems. All right. Most people are low on D3. Not only that, if you have a sports injury and you need to heal your joints, taking higher doses of D3, taking calcium through drinking milk, and doing light resistance training on the injured joint would actually heal it. Lignans. This helps with hormonal health for males and females, and it will also help with the immune system. It's a powder. I take it every day with my probiotic. Structural nanosilver lozenges. I have that in sweet menthol, neutralizes pathogens, soothes your throat. I have it in sweet menthol and green apple, but I also have on the store now blueberry drops in the 100 count, and I also have honey lemon in the 100 count. So try those. Structural nanosilver soap neutralizes pathogens. Toothpaste. No fluoride. It has structural nanosilver. It neutralizes pathogens. Reduces that gum inflammation, whitens the teeth, brushes the breath. And when you do this properly, then what will happen is that you'll have proper oral hygiene and reduce cardiovascular disease. It's not the only way to reduce cardiovascular disease, but oral hygiene is correlated to cardiovascular health. in valvular health. If you have poor, proper oral hygiene, you're increasing the chances of increasing the chances of cardiovascular disease and valvular disease. So by taking the toothpaste, this toothpaste is the best toothpaste you'll be able to buy. All right. Get it from my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. It has the structural nanosilver, and it's going to help neutralize pathogens, help with your teeth, and reduce cardiovascular disease. I partnered up with Rainbow Herbals. It's a great, this deodorant is made from excellent, superior ingredients from the Himalayas. It's made out of essential oils from the Himalayas. It's extremely high quality. It's like a detox bar. But not only that, it's a deodorant. So it's a product that gives you two functions. It's a multifunctional product, which I believe in that concept, because you want to buy products that will give you multiple functionality. I have it in citrus and peppermint tea tree. Get this product. You'll be amazed at the quality of this. Get a multivitamin, all right? I have multivitamins on my store. You need multivitamins as cofactors for proper enzymatic activity. If you don't have enough of these, you're not going to have the proper enzymatic activity. It'll be subpar. And this is easy on the digestive system. It's an excellent product. All my products are high quality and excellent. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Support my work by buying the products, listening to the anti-aging protocol, and how to actually weather the storm that we just went through. Thank you for listening. Please support the work by sharing, by donating, and by going to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and buying the products and following the protocol. It's proper diet, proper exercise, proper supplementation, proper sleep. You need REM cycles. Get my product that's Goodnight Formula. It has tryptophan and melatonin in it, and it'll allow you to get that REM sleep. And when you have REM sleep, you're going to be able to filter out those toxins quicker, and you're going to have better mental clarity, because you have a buildup of garbage, that is happening over the day, and you need those REM cycles to clear out the CSF. And when you have proper sleep, you'll age slower, and you'll be able to solidify memory better. So, and do proper supplementation and proper exercise. When you do that and exercise your brain, when you do that, you will age slower. I am not wrong on this. Just like I wasn't wrong with the crisis that we went through. And just like I'm not wrong with this, that this is a biblical event that you need to fucking pay attention to. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and have a nice day.